Yat A, my relatives. It's Mark Charles. It is Wednesday, April 21st, and I wanted to come on. I'm drinking my second cup of coffee. It's just afternoon, about 12:11, and I wanted to just talk about and think about what it means to take in the guilty verdicts in the Derek Chauvin trial yesterday. So before I do, let me start, as I always do, by acknowledging I'm speaking to you from Piscataway lands. I am deeply grateful for the Piscataway people, for their stewardship of these lands. I want to publicly acknowledge that they are still here, and I want to state how humbled I am to be living on their lands. Yesterday in the afternoon, I was kind of keeping my eye on the news throughout the day, and I knew that there was a slight chance they would come out with a verdict. And sure enough, in the afternoon, after I'd returned home from meeting with a friend, he's visiting in town. We wanted to see some of the memorials, so we went outside and walked by the MLK Memorial and actually went to see Thomas Jefferson's memorial. And but anyway, I came home from that, and I had to run a few errands yet before dinner, and I found out that the jury had reached a verdict, and they were going to read the verdict sometime between 4:30 and 5 p.m. Eastern time. And so I put on one of my favorite 24-hour news channels here in the DC area, and I streamed it over my headset, and I just took it with me while I was out running some errands so I wouldn't miss it. And it was right around 5 o'clock. Actually, it was a little bit after 5 that I was actually in a grocery store when they read the verdicts. And the three charges, the second-degree unintentional murder, the third-degree murder, and the second-degree manslaughter, they found him guilty on all three of those verdicts. The second-degree unintentional murder carries a potential sentence of 40 years in prison. The third-degree murder carries a potential 25 years, and the second-degree manslaughter carries a potential of 10 years. And as those verdicts were read, as I was walking through the store, I felt some sense of relief kind of sweep over me. I was literally emotionally preparing for the worst. I was preparing that in light of the video, in light of all this massive evidence, that they would still either have a hung jury or might even find him not guilty of these charges. And so I didn't have a lot of confidence. And so when I heard all three of the guilty verdicts, I felt this sense of relief flow over me. But it was the same sense of relief that I felt the morning that I woke up after the election, when very clearly Joe Biden had won, and it was a relief that Donald Trump was out of office, but it was an understanding of, right, Joe Biden's not going to fix anything. And so while I was deeply relieved and very grateful, actually, for the Floyd family, that they had some relief and some sense of justice. I think even as his brother said that George stated over and over he was not able to breathe, but he said with this verdict, he is now able to breathe at least a little bit. And so I was grateful for that, right? Having found him innocent would have been appalling. So I'm grateful that he was found guilty. But I also fully acknowledge this is nowhere near the pivotal point of systemic change that we need in this country. Finding Derek Chauvin guilty of murder is not a paradigm-shifting event. There was a 9-minute video where the world was able to watch him murder George Floyd. We saw it. It was indisputable evidence. This does not mean that now we are going to have justice for either cases that have happened in the past or for cases that happen in the future. Right? On one hand, it's very disheartening that, yes, I'm grateful we got a guilty verdict. It's disheartening. It literally took an audience watching and someone recording the entire 9 minutes that this murder was taking place. That's what it took to get our system to hold a white police officer accountable for the murder of a black man. It took a 9-minute video and a live audience to get that type of a conviction. So this is not a new world we live in now, right? This isn't. There is so much work that needs to be done yet. So yes, I'm grateful and I feel this sense of relief. And yet I also am taking this really deep breath and saying, this is just a reminder of how much work we have to do, of how unbalanced justice is in this nation. Because if we need video and a live audience for every guilty conviction, these are going to be few and far in between. And again, this is where, even as I woke up this morning and I was listening to the news, and I don't want to diminish the relief that so many people feel. Friends, people in my community, many people are feeling this great sense of relief that yes, Derek Chauvin was found guilty. And I agree, that's a relief. But as I listened to the news this morning, and I don't know if it's just the people they chose to interview or who they chose to put on, but I just heard over and over and over again that this is the first step towards systemic change. This is the first step towards, now we can go back and retry, and now we can hold white people accountable. Now, blah, and it's like, no, we can't. We still have a constitution that keeps slavery legal. We still have a 3/5 compromise. We still have racism, sexism, white supremacy written into our foundations. There's talk about a new bill and doing some new training. There's even some, I believe they're starting a potential, the Department of Justice is going to look into the civil rights of the Minneapolis police. I don't have that exact headline in front of me, but I saw something about that this morning. And these are good things, right? But again, we have to remember the administration in charge right now, not only did it help write some of these policing things that need to be reformed, but Joe Biden stated repeatedly in his campaign that he's not going to change anything systemically. He uses the word systemic change. He talks about, he said, I think yesterday, that police violence is a stain, the systemic violence and racism is a stain on the soul of America, I think was his term. And yet he was adamant he's not going to do anything systemic about it. And even if he uses the word systemic, he's not really willing to change things at a very deep level. He's not willing to look at the foundations. I mean, this case, the fact that it took a 9-minute video and a live audience to get a guilty verdict of a white man killing a black man, this is just evidence of how broken our system is and how far we are from actually getting a system that's just. And this should make us look even harder at how much we have to change our foundations and how much we have to address this at a foundational level. But there's no talk of that. We'll provide new training, we'll write a few more new laws, but we're not going to change the foundations that these laws are based upon. And so this is the heavy heart I'm feeling. I don't want to be a killjoy, because I don't deny, I feel some sense of relief. I'm grateful for everyone who protested, who worked to bring the injustice of this entire situation to light. And I completely agree that we have a lot that, but this is not the systemic change we need. This is not even a turning point. This is a single case where we had a 9-minute video and a live audience. And if that's what it takes, I don't want anything to do with that kind of justice, right? That's not justice. If you have a system that requires a 9-minute video and a live audience to get justice, that's not a just system. And so we need to realize that this case highlights how broken our system is, not that it occasionally produces a somewhat positive result. And so I'm gearing up for much harder work. And now the problem is right, because of the way the system works, people are going to point to this and say, no, look, we got a guilty verdict here with George Floyd, his murderer with Derek Chauvin. So the system is working. We can fix it. And we can just make some adjustments up here, and it will actually give them a greater ability to not deal with it at a foundational level. And so this is where I'm going to continue to be pointing out to people that, yeah, this is highlights the need to change our foundations. These are the things we have to do. I'm enjoying the relief that I feel, that we should all feel, that in this case, accountability happened. I'm grateful for that. But we have a lot of work ahead of us. We have a lot of things we have to do. And I want to make sure that we don't give this systemically racist, sexist, and white supremacist system any more credit than it deserves right now. And it deserves very little. And I don't want us to give the white landowning male institution that's running this system an opportunity to point and say, look, see, this thing is working. Because no, it's not working. And so I want to continue to remind ourselves that we have to deal with it at a foundational level. And we have to remind people, including Joe Biden, that these are foundational level issues. And we absolutely must begin to address them there. If we can't abolish slavery, if we can't once and for all remove the 3/5 compromise from the Constitution, if we can't acknowledge that our Declaration of Independence does not include women or natives, we're not going to fix the system. We're not going to fix it at that foundational level. And those are the things that I want to remind us that we have to begin to acknowledge more. I hope this is helpful for some perspective on this. Again, I don't want to be a complete downer, but I do want to make sure that we're looking at this in light of the hundreds of years of history that we have to the counter of the verdict we got yesterday. And the system, remember, does not want to change. Joe Biden doesn't want to change. The system doesn't want to change. It wants to maintain the status quo. And so we have to continue to work for systemic change and to work at this at a foundational level. There's a lot more stuff going on that I'm not even going to be able to get into right now, but I appreciate everyone joining me this afternoon. I hope that you find these thoughts helpful. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. If you have some things you want to comment on or things you want to even have me be aware of and discuss in some of these second cups of coffee, I'm trying to make them a little bit more casual, a little bit more of less of a planned and more just kind of a mulling over some things and talking about some things and bringing up some ideas. And again, on Friday, I'm going to be doing a live stream around the same time, late morning, early afternoon, around my book, Unsettling Truth, the ongoing dehumanizing legacy of the doctrine of discovery. And going to be hopefully answering some questions that people send in. So if you have any questions about the book, if you've been reading through it, I invite you to either email me some questions through my website, wirelesshogan.com, or to send me something on Twitter, hashtag the book Unsettling Truth, and then I'll try to find those and make sure whatever questions are being asked, I'll try to address a few of them this Friday. But I'm going to be doing a Q&A about the book this Friday on my live stream. Other than that, I hope you have a good day, my relatives. I'm planning to try and watch the sunrise tomorrow morning. If you want to join me on Facebook, or I live stream it on Facebook and then post it pretty immediately to YouTube and Instagram. But if you want to join me on Facebook, you can find my public profile on Facebook. It has a blue check mark. If you search my name, my public profile has a blue check mark on it. So you can find me there, and I live stream it. It's usually rising around 6:30, actually 6:20, 6:25 in the morning right now. So it's pretty early, but it's a great way to start your day. Okay, my relatives, I hope you have a great day. I hope that we are able to appreciate this verdict for what it is, and that we can commit ourselves to continue to do the very hard work to bring about the systemic change that this verdict is not. And may we walk in beauty, and may we learn how to walk in beauty together. Ahiahat and Hakonet.